Hello, good people. Good evening, and welcome to Tuesday Night Live here in the Honey Bar with me, EJWAY. It is good to be back. It's good to be here. Another week, and we survived without being locked down yet in the UK. Although people are in different tiers and phases, and Manchester has rebelled, and they've been kind of forced into tier 3. I don't know what's going on. Whether it's a fire brick or a circuit breaker that's needed, or some fiery popcorn. I don't know what it is that's needed to get things sorted, but we're still in this place with the whole corona, the rise in numbers. It is crazy, but I hope you are well. I hope you're doing well. I hope that everything is good with you and that you are fine. Goodness me, tonight's show is all about overcoming fear. Tonight's show, we have none other than the one and only lady we had on a week or so ago, a few weeks back. It is Theresa Royal Brown, and that is a lady who needs no introduction whatsoever. But I'm looking forward to getting to a great discussion with her. We spoke about her story previously, and we got into some detail about the things that she faced, and we ran out of time, quite literally. So I said, no, we need to get her back. We need to ask Teresa to try and come back on the show, and she agreed, and she's back tonight. So we're going to be talking more in detail about her story, about how to practically overcome fear. This is one of those things. I know that there are many people out there who do struggle when it comes to the consistency of your forward motion, the consistency of your progress. And quite often we come up against sticking points. We set off to try and do something, but we become hindered by fear. Maybe it's fear of kind of stepping into the next phase of this venture that you're trying to do, whether it's trying to kind of maybe test the waters outside of your close-knit friends, circle of friends, and sharing your idea, your venture, your business with people that you don't know. There could be a number of different things that we face, but we're all faced with that question as to, should I do this, or will I allow fear to stop me from moving forward? That's the thing that we're going to be talking to tonight. Practically overcoming fear. How are you when it comes to that? I want you to know as well that tonight's show is especially dedicated to you. If you're watching, it is time for you to ask your questions live. Last time I interviewed Teresa, I monopolized. I didn't allow time for questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, I would like you to type those in the chat, and just even from now, you can just let me know where you're watching from. Just say hi. You can say whatever you like, and we'll be able to get those questions posed to Teresa. But I'll tell you what, we have got a fantastic show, like I said, with Teresa, and I don't want to take up any more time. I want to get straight into it. I want to get Teresa on the show, and I want to get back into her story and allow you guys to have your time to ask the questions that you want. So let's welcome to tonight's show, one and only, all the way from the United States, Theresa Royal Brown.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Fantastic. Yeah, I am doing okay. I'm doing well. I have to say I'm doing well. Yes. It's good to see you. Looking very well.
Thank you. So are you? How is everything in the UK?
Yeah, I'll just say in the UK it's a bit crazy right now over here because the numbers of reported cases of COVID are kind of creeping up. Yeah. They're trying to avoid doing an overhaul lockdown, and they're trying to do it in these different phases. So we have like either in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. It's a bit confusing, especially for people who are on the border of places. Maybe they live in a phase 1 place on the edge of it, and someone else's phase 2, whether they go into that, it's just, it's a bit strange over here. But how are things with you in the States?
Well, not too much better. We got a lot of cases starting to creep up as well, but we're hanging in there. That's all you can do.
This is it. Hang in there. roll with the punches. But listen, it's great to have you back, and I really appreciate you. I know you're a very busy lady, and I know that you've got a lot of things cooking in the background with your business and your ventures and everything else. So I appreciate you taking time out to speak with us again.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I had a great time last time, and I appreciate you having me back.
Yes, no, definitely. I really did enjoy it. And I said that I'll be back with my sound effects. So So I've got all my sound effects. I'm very happy that everything's running smooth now. Before I was in my front room and everything. I'm in my office now. It's all good. But you know, some people may be watching and they did not see the last show, possibly. So if you don't mind, would you like to introduce yourself to the people? Talk a little bit about who is this Theresa Royal Brown that OC keeps talking about? Such a wonderful person. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came to be who you are now.
Well, thank you, OC. I appreciate you. You always have such good things to say. Well, I appreciate you. You are awesome as well. But for those who don't know me, I am Theresa Royal Brown. I am the president of Entrepreneurs and Professionals Network, EPNET. I'm also the founder of Bold, Brave, and Beautiful, a movement for women in business. And I'm known in some parts as the Event Producer Extraordinaire because I plan, I host, I promote, and I organize events in excellence. And I'm also an author, a speaker. I do a lot of things, as you guys can see. But most people know me as simply Teresa. I'm a friend. I'm a wife, I'm a mother. Oh, not really a mother, but a mother figure, I should say. And, you know, people know me in different aspects of my life in different ways and different things. But I guess when people meet me and when I go to networking events, I introduce myself as an event planner because that's really the core of who I am. I'm an event planner. But I do so many other things, as you guys know. I'm also the author of the book called Not Built to Break, Becoming Resilient Through Life Challenges. I wrote that book over 10 years ago. And for some reason, I'm still being asked to speak on this book. I do a lot of speaking engagements on that book. I've written several other books. I'm in the process of writing 3 other ones. So I have a lot going on. I'm a very busy, busy person, as OC has said. But that's who I am in a nutshell. So again, thank you for having me back on your show. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And thank you so much for that introduction. You know, it's amazing when I hear people that do so many things like that. It just shows how much you have to give. And those types of things, they're not necessarily things that you're doing that you're receiving a whole lot. Like all of those things are to do with other people. And I love that. I love that. It's like you got this gift and you're sharing it with people, whether it's through your books, your seminars, through your one-to-one mentoring. It's amazing. So we appreciate you. First round of applause.
But OC, let me say this real quick. I just have to say this. You notice how I rolled that off my tongue. I'm a mother, and I'm not really a mother. Physically, I should say. But somebody just really yesterday said to me, Teresa, you're such a mother figure. And you need to start saying that you're a mother. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not a mother. But you see how it just came right on out today. But that's because somebody literally just said that to me yesterday.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to clarify that, because I know some people are watching saying, Teresa, you don't have any kids.
Right.
But technically, I do have kids. I have children that I mentor. I have a girl that I've mentored for years. She's now 17 years old, but I mentored her from 11 years old. So these kids, if you will, are not my physical children, but I am a mentor. So I am a mother figure. So let me clear that up. But people start saying,
that's good. And the thing is, it's a very powerful thing. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. And this is the thing. You can have certain people who are physiologically mothers, but they're not really playing that role as a mother. And that's a shame. It does happen, but we need people like yourself who are able to step in and to play that role and to mentor people and to just be that listening ear, that word of advice. So yes, for sure. Listen, you get a Mother's Day card from me. I'll make sure people send you some cards.
I appreciate that.
No, because I think it really is just in the value of the relationship. Really, I do think that. I really do think that. But yeah, I think it is amazing. You know, naturally, you spoke about the books. You know, I know about the master network. Sorry, the top level connections. Sorry, the top level connections book, and also obviously Not Built to Break. But with those books, and you keep sort of talking about the fact that people keep bringing you back to Not Built to Break. I think that even just that topic in itself, just thinking about resilience of people, and as well the topic that we're talking about tonight, overcoming fear. I think this is all part of the core of really what stops people from fulfilling their potential. Like just realizing that you actually have got some strength inside of you, you know, something that can be done. There are things that can be done when you're facing what seems to be the end of the road, you know, and you talk very well about it in your books. And you explained very well last time as well. I think it would be good if we picked up where we left off. Now, I know that we spoke a little bit about the car crash that happened. And then we were running out of time as we were talking about that. I want you to just refresh people's memory about that experience itself. And then maybe if you could just talk to us a little bit about some of the things that caused or have caused fear in yourself over the years. So yeah, maybe you should start off with the car crash event in your life.
You know, it's so interesting. Every time I talk to you, I'm always bringing up stuff that has been kind of repressed or kind of down deep that I don't really share with people. But I'm so glad that you mentioned that car accident. Let me share a little bit on that. In 2013, my husband and I were coming back from Atlanta. We had driven down for a family reunion, and we were coming back on 95 in Woodbridge, Virginia. So a lot of people who know me, they know where Woodbridge, Virginia is off of 95. And all of a sudden, we were just, you know, talking away, and a lady out of nowhere just came and hit us. She hit on my side, actually. And our car spun like 5 times in the middle of 95. And luckily...
Sorry to stop you. So I'm contextualizing this for the UK audience. Were you driving or not driving?
I wasn't driving. My husband was driving.
You weren't driving. So you were on the right-hand side of the car.
Right.
Okay, because in the UK, that's the side we drive on.
Right, yeah, exactly. So y'all saw it. That's the driver's side.
Yeah. So you got hit on that side of the car, and then the car started to spin out of control. So yeah, carry on.
Okay, spun out of control. It was rush hour traffic, which is what I talked about before. There was cars coming from everywhere. And so sometimes when I share this testimony, I don't share it a lot, but the couple times that I have shared it, I don't think people understand how many cars were coming at the time of this accident. I think some people thought, oh, it was just a few cars on the road. No, it was rush hour traffic, which means everybody who knows the DMV area, it's crazy traffic. So everybody's going at like 70, 80. Well, in DMV, it's more like 80 or 90, but it was probably like 70, 75 miles an hour, just zooming down 95. So for us not to be hit by other cars was a miracle in itself. And sometimes when I'm in my prayer time and I'll just say, Lord, I just thank you for bringing us through that accident. I don't think I even really understand sometimes. We should have been killed, guys. Seriously. We really should have been killed, not so much by the lady hitting us, but by all the cars hitting us. You know what I mean? So it's just amazing to me that no other car hit us. And we were able to spin 5 times in the middle of 95 with all these cars coming. I don't know how they didn't hit us, but we ended up just crashing into the brick guard, the guardrail on the side of the road. So one of the things I didn't share, which leads us into the topic today, is that for a long time, I couldn't drive. So I never shared this with anybody. My husband knew, but for a long time, I couldn't drive. Not because I had an injury, because I did have an injury. Technically, the doctor told me not to drive for about maybe, I'd say about a month, because my knee was really messed up. But thereafter, I could drive, and I was fearful. I was afraid to drive. Now, remember, I wasn't driving the car. But I was scared to drive. And I remember a friend of mine said, Teresa, you got to start driving again. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to drive. I'm not going to drive. And she's like, you got and drive, because if you don't, you will never drive again. And I will
Mm,
never forget those words that she said. And I'd say about
mm,
maybe 4 or 5 months later, I started to drive again. But it was scary. It was a
mm,
scary experience. So that even leads into our topic today about fear. Why
mm,
was I so afraid to drive? I wasn't even driving the car. Does
mm.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
But I was so afraid to get behind that wheel. And I don't, and to this day, I'm not exactly sure why. I wasn't afraid to get into an accident. I think I
Mm,
was just scared to drive.
right, right, right.
So weird. I've never told anybody that. That's
Mm,
so interesting.
mm. And it's very interesting that, especially our last point that you made, because sometimes fear to the person who is not experiencing it seems almost unnecessary. It can
Hmm.
seem there's not really a reason for it. It can seem simple or trivial, but for you and for the person experiencing it, it's so big, it's so huge,
Right.
and it literally kind of stops you literally from acting in a certain path in a certain way.
Right.
So that's interesting. So when the person said that to you, that you need to, otherwise you'll never drive again, did you immediately say, oh, okay then, or what was the point at which you actually got behind the wheel of a car?
Oh, you know, I'm not exactly, think I had to go to a doctor's appointment or something, and my
Mm,
husband couldn't take me, or it was a situation I had no choice, but I had to drive. And
mm,
I just said, okay, I'm going to just put that fear to the side and get in the car. And I drove like a little grandma down the street. I was like this. I was so scared.
mm,
But the good thing is I did it. And then that gave me a
yes,
little bit more confidence. And so then about a week or so later, I did it again. I didn't drive again right away. Because
right.
remember, I really didn't have a reason to drive a lot at that time. My husband was
Mhm.
there. He was pretty much carting me around, bless his heart. So I really didn't have to. And I could have called an Uber. I mean,
Right.
there was Ubers
Yeah.
around. I could have done that. But I knew that I needed to get back behind that wheel. And
Mm,
so that's so important, even in our business lives, our relationship lives. I'm talking about an accident, but what thing, and I'm asking you this question as well, Osi,
mm,
what thing has happened to you in your life
mm,
that caused you to be so fearful that you were scared to do it again?
mm,
But because you had to do it again, you did it.
mm,
Does that make
mm.
sense? Or
Yeah,
you
most
were
definitely.
forced to do it again and you had to do it. So
Yeah.
fear is it's paralyzing. It will paralyze you.
Mm,
And that's what I knew, that if I did not get behind that wheel, it would be 5 years later and I would still be like, oh, I'm not driving. I'm good. And I would have to
mm,
be depending on other people. Catch it. See, this is answered your question. Catch
mm.
it. This is the reason why I made myself do it, because
Right.
I didn't want to have to depend on other
Right.
people to drive me around. Even
Right.
though I knew my husband would do it,
Mm,
even though I knew I could get an Uber, even though I could call my friends, but
mm.
I'm so independent, I wanted to make sure that I was able to drive myself. So
Yeah.
that was kind of another catalyst that pushed me to get behind that wheel.
Wow, that's interesting. I think that, yeah, just that decision in itself to realize that actually you could have called an Uber, you could have
Mm-hmm.
taken the easy option, but
Mm-hmm.
thinking long term, again, it's kind of getting out of that situation. Yes, the fear is here. Yes, the fear is real. But
Yep.
what's outside of this? What is being hidden from me because of this fear? What is it? And actually, what is the result if I continue in this fear?
You got
So,
it. You caught it. That's
yeah,
it.
mm,
That's it. That's deep.
yeah. Because you're
It's
talking
really
about the
deep.
fact that you would have had to have relied on people
Yep.
indefinitely
Indefinitely.
if you did not address that fear right there and then.
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. I think in many ways, shapes and forms, fear does take hold on our lives and stops us from doing things. And what we then tend to do is kind of somehow feel like we're dealing with it by asking lots of questions about how do I this, how do I that. But really what you're talking about is just making a decision to actually do that thing that you did not want to do.
Ah, excellent. You're a good student. See, people don't catch it. I mean, that is so interesting. Even in that, I'm still thinking long term. And again, another life situation. My aunt, bless her, God rest her soul, she just passed last year. But my aunt was a person, she never learned how to drive. She died at like 84. And do you know she never learned how to drive?
Wow.
And I just remember my cousins taking her places. I took her, had taken her places. She'd always had a ride, but she always had to depend on someone else. And I think I also thought about her in the back of my mind. Like, do you want to be like your Aunt Claire? You know what I mean? And I loved her. And she was old school. She just never learned.
Right.
And, you know, that was just something she had no desire. She's like, I don't want to learn. I'm good. And I just said, you know what? Do I want to be like that? Do I want to have to always call my friends? And I'm like, I just don't want to do that. And so I made myself do it.
Right. Wow, that's a very powerful lesson to learn. I think it's very valuable. Now, what I want to know is, in the sessions that you run, the coaching sessions, maybe your one-to-one sessions, your events, what do you feel is like the most common cause of fear? Or maybe it's more than one. What kind of crops up a lot when it comes to kind of people are struggling with this specific fear, and maybe they don't know it even, you know, but have you found that there's like any consistencies, or is it lots of different things?
You know what I found over the years is the fear of the unknown. That's really what it is. So say, for example, I'm planning someone's event and they're a micromanager. They're micromanaging me because they don't know exactly what I'm going to do. They're scared, like, okay, Teresa may not do it. She may not catch the vision of what I want for my event. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's a fear of the unknown. So for example, if somebody wants to start a business, but they don't ever start that business, they don't do it because it's the fear of the unknown. What if I started and I fail? What if I started and I don't get any clients? These are very real things that have happened. But if you don't start, you'll never know. But that's the biggest thing, is people are just scared because they don't know what's going to be on the other side once they begin.
Right. That one is just very interesting. I've looked at a book called The Four Color Personalities, and there's a lot around kind of the different types of personalities that people can have. And they say those with the green personality. I know some sites is slightly different colors, but they're the ones who like detail. They're the people who, if you're going to buy a new mobile phone contract, they want the detail of every little tiny thing before they can agree to it. Now, with the example that you just gave, what I often find is that people with that type of personality are seldom satisfied. It's never that extra bit of information that actually causes them to take the action. It's the decision. Like it's almost as if the information is like a comfort zone. It's where they're comfortable.
Interesting.
And they just default to that position. I need information. And when they read it, it's comforting. But they're asked, are you going to make a decision now? No, I just need more information. And they'll ask for more information. But do you see? That's what I've found.
Just make a decision.
Yeah, it's kind of just at that place where, when is enough information enough? Because the reality is, you know very well that whenever you start, no matter how much information you already have, you're still going to learn more. There's still more that you don't know.
True.
It's interesting to me that one crops up. But you're right. I find that it's very common. People tend to kind of stop themselves.
Right.
And whenever we kind of suppose what would happen, it's never positive. Like, we don't say, if I start this, I may have too many customers. I'd always say we won't have enough customers.
Yep, we never say that. What if I don't have enough? We never say, what if I have an abundance, you know?
Yes.
So you're right.
Yeah. Very interesting. So what do you say to people when you find that they are kind of in that position? How do you advise them to overcome it?
Oh, I don't know if you want to hear my advice.
Yes, we do. That's why we got you on it.
Because sometimes I can be very direct. And I have to sometimes temper myself a little bit, because everybody doesn't handle direct constructive criticism well, or they don't handle when somebody's like in your face and say, hey, look, you got to just do this and this and this. Right. They want you to kind of sugarcoat it and be kind of, gentle. And sometimes I will say, but then there's sometimes, to your point, and I've done it myself, and I've actually had people give me tough love. Like, Teresa, okay, you have gotten this much information. You've looked at the videos. You've read all the reports. You've got to make a decision. You've got to make a decision. You've got to move. And we're all guilty of it. I know I am as well. There have been some times, because you've made bad decisions in the past, that you don't want to make that same mistake again. And I'll bring my poor husband into this, bless his heart. I gave him such a hard time when we first started dating, because I had a bad relationship. I had been married before, and I was divorced. And it was a bad, I picked the wrong man, I should say. But the operative word is I picked him. He should have been the one to pick me. But that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I gave him a hard time. And I remember another good friend of mine said, Teresa, you're driving this poor man away. You've done this. You've tested him. You've had him go through all these hoops. You got to make a decision. Are you going to make this thing work? Or are you going to try this relationship and make it work? Or are you going to keep being on the fence and testing and doing this and doing that? And I finally just said, you know what? I got to do better. And I got to make a decision. And so once I made myself make the decision that I was going to I'm going to give this man my heart no matter what happens. And if it doesn't work, I just have to dust myself off and try it again. And that's exactly what happened. It ended up working. But if it hadn't worked, I would have been like, you know what? I'm going to just try this again. And I think that's what we have to do when it comes to being fearful, because that's all it was. I was afraid. I was afraid to trust again. I was afraid to give my heart to somebody again. And we've all been in that situation. Come on now, all of us. Everybody raise your hand. We've all been in it. So exactly. So, but you got to trust. You got to just be like, okay, that other person didn't work out, but maybe this person is the right person for me. And in my case, it ended up he was the right person for me. Same with businesses, same with jobs. How many jobs have we all had? I've had jobs before I had my own business. You have to have a job somewhere. Well, not necessarily. I know some people that jump right into their own business and that was all they've done. But most of us have had a job. We may not have liked that job, right? And what did we do? We got another job. We may not have liked that job. We got another job, and so on and so on. So if we would have been afraid to leave that job to get more money or get more responsibility, we would still be stuck where we were. So that's how we have to look at everything when it comes to fear. You've got to push yourself. You got to just say, okay, do I want to stay in this situation, or do I want to take a chance and try to do something different? And if you can just make yourself move, and that's the operative word, you have to make yourself move. Right. So that's my advice to people. And some people don't like it. They're like, oh, Teresa, that's being mean. No, it's not. Life is too short. We're in a pandemic, right? And so I've talked to so many people that said, I wish I would have gone to Jamaica last year. I had a chance to go. I didn't go. I wish I would have gone to France. I had a chance. I didn't go. Now we can't go. You see what I mean? Yeah. So all those missed opportunities, we don't have the luxury of time anymore. We have
Mm,
got to keep moving forward. We got to push past this fear, and you got to give people tough love and just say, hey, look, you got to
mm,
make a decision. And that's my two
mm.
cents.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I like it. And you know what? I think it's very, very, I guess, lacking in society in general. We're kind of in a
Mhm.
society where you have to say what people want to hear as opposed to what they need to hear. And I
Right.
think that it is causing mediocrity. It's causing people to not
Mm,
really be fulfilling their true purpose. You know, everything is just enough.
right.
Everything is within that comfort zone. One powerful lesson I feel like that was picked up from what you just shared was, I guess, that decision that's made out of fear that is protecting, right? So it's
Mm.
protecting yourself, and
Ooh,
you're doing actions that you might not even see as fear. You're saying, no, I want it this way and I want it that way. And, you know, in your example, it was in a relationship. In others, it could be many different things. How do you feel like, did you recognize that as fear at the time, or is it in hindsight that you recognize it as fear? And how do you think people could, in the middle of it, try to pick up on the fact that, okay, this is fear, you probably don't want to do that, you need to get out of it?
that's a great question. Actually, I don't think I really realized it was fear
Mm,
in the beginning, because sometimes when you're doing something, you're just thinking that this is just a way, this is just your way.
mm,
This is just how
mm,
you do things.
yeah.
But I think after I had that friend say that to me, like, Teresa, come on now, what are you doing? You are being so hard on this guy. Sometimes other people can see you better than you can see yourself.
Yeah.
Come on now, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm a very strong female, I'm very my beliefs are strong in some things, but sometimes I have had people say to me, Teresa, you know what? You need to look at this another way.
Mm,
And no matter how strong I am, no matter how adamant I am, I'm able to kind of look at both sides. My
mm,
mother used to always say that to me, Teresa, you can always see both sides of every situation. And I really can. Sometimes I don't see it right away. So to your point, I didn't see it at first. I'm
mm,
just, this is the way it's going to be. But
mm,
then after I got that advice, I actually looked back. I took a step back and tried to put myself in his shoes. And I think
mm.
that's what we have to do too. Take a step back from
That
whatever the
empathy.
situation is. You see what I
Mm,
mean? And
mm,
then put yourself in the other person's shoes, or if it's a situation that you're trying to figure it out, just take a step back and look at both sides of the situation. Am I
mm,
being afraid? Is this the right way? Is this what most people think? You have to look at it from different angles. So
mm.
no, I didn't know at the time that I
Right.
was being afraid. It was hindsight, which is always 2020, but it
Yeah.
was hindsight. And then I did realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm being afraid here.
Mm,
I'm just scared of taking a chance.
mm, mm. And I think it's that vulnerability, isn't it? It's just being
Hmm.
vulnerable,
Yes.
especially after you've been hurt or you've gone through something that's causing the fear. You want to
Yes.
protect that side of yourself. You don't want to ever feel it again.
Hmm.
And this is the shame of it. I think you said before, you know, the you don't have the right to hold back on what you have to give the world. Like, you
Right.
know, this thing that is in you, it needs to come out. And
Right.
why should we allow fear to stand in the way? It needs to be that, yes, okay, these areas are vulnerable. Yes, this side of me has been damaged, it has been hurt again. But unless you're willing to allow or maybe expose that wound again,
Hmm.
what's in you won't come out. Yes, that protection is stopping
Mm.
yourself from being hurt, but it's also keeping you in from getting
Hmm.
out, helping others.
That's
I
awesome.
see
Yep.
so
That's a
much.
great, great
So,
observation.
yeah, it's very sad because you can see people with potential on so many
Hmm.
different levels, but they don't realize their true potential
Right.
because they're protecting themselves. uh, One thing that I find is, you know, and I don't know if you find this too, that people make decisions out of emotion. Like they have heightened emotion. and they'll make these never always decisions. So
I've done it. I'm never going to do this. Yes, I've done it.
it's not easy, but I think, like you said, you kind of need that somebody else, that the other pair of eyes, who's
Right.
able to help. They're able to see from the outside, and they're able to tell the truth. And I think if you're willing to receive the truth as well, then you'll be able to deal with this fear, because it's one thing having people that will tell you the truth. It's another thing being able to receive it. Like my wife is like a mirror to me. She just reflects back everything I'm giving. I don't like what I see sometimes in the mirror, but she just reflects it back. She reflects it back. And, you know, you realize, actually, for me to benefit, I need to be able to, like that same analogy, check what's happening in the mirror and fix accordingly, you know, fix what is out of place. Receiving information is very, very, very difficult. Another thing is, you know, when people face unexpected setbacks, so everything's going along fine, and I know that you in your life, you've experienced some unexpected setbacks. What would you feel is like a major practical step that people should kind of take on in trying to deal with those scenarios when they're right? Because you never know, you can't prepare for it, but I guess maybe there's something that we could think about and maybe recognize even at the time. But what do you feel is like a practical thing that people could do in those situations?
Good question. And, you know, I've faced several unexpected setbacks. I'm even going through a couple now. Technically, I think we all are with COVID.
Yes.
This is an unexpected setback. And how do you deal with it? And I almost posted this today on my Facebook. I didn't post it, and I probably should have, and I probably will when we get off of here. But 2 words: you got to keep pivoting.
Right.
You got to keep pivoting. And I think if that's the one piece of advice I could give to people when you have an unexpected setback, you cannot stay still. You have to continue to keep moving, because I believe what happened to all of us, I'm not just saying me, I think the whole entire world, we all went through a little bit of depression. It was undiagnosed depression. But we were all, because we were shocked. We didn't know what to do. And for a minute, we all stopped moving, technically because we had no choice. Everybody got shut down pretty much. So we stopped. Now, some of us didn't stop. Some people were constantly thinking, okay, I had to shut this part down. What else can I do? But some of us, I'd say the majority of us, we stopped and we had to think about this thing for a minute. We like, we're completely shut down. And the rest of the year is probably going to be not too much better. And technically, it's true. But you've got to continue to keep pivoting. And that is what is going to bring you out of any unexpected setback. We all have several things that we do, just like I gave a list. The core of who I am is an event planner, but I'm also a speaker. I'm an author. I teach. I mentor. I do a lot of stuff. So what have I done? All my events dried up. So now I'm pivoting. What did I say? Keep pivoting. I'm pivoting, and I'm writing. I'm pivoting. I'm doing a lot more networking. I'm pivoting. I'm doing speaking. So when one thing dries up, you got to pivot. And so that's how I think we can all stay sane during this crazy time, and any crazy time in your life, not just COVID. I mean, like I said, we had a car accident. I had a miscarriage. I was in bankruptcy. I've had so many crazy things that have happened to me in the course of my life. Some stuff people don't even know. And I've had to continually keep pivoting. I had somebody tell me today, because I'm actually, I'm not at home. You could probably tell by my background from the last time. But I've been called out of town to a conference. And somebody just told me today, Teresa, I see some of your LinkedIn posts. I didn't even know they were connected to me on LinkedIn. But I
Right.
see some of your LinkedIn posts, and I know you've been going through a lot of crazy stuff, but you always look great. I'm like,
Mm.
really? I'm like, I sometimes feel like I'm not making a difference, like I'm not doing. And he's like, stop it. You're making a difference. And it made me stop and think, like, ooh,
Mm,
so even though we're going through crazy stuff, because I'm constantly
mm,
pivoting, I'm staying in
mm.
motion. And so I'm actually inspiring people to continue to keep pivoting as well. And I didn't
Yeah.
even know it. So that's some advice and also some inspiration to everyone. You don't know who you're impacting, you don't know who you're inspiring. So you
Mm.
got to keep pivoting. So when you keep pivoting, you encourage somebody else to keep pivoting in spite of whatever setbacks that they're going through. Thank you for
Fantastic.
those sound effects.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because I think sometimes you can do things and not realize that what you're doing is a thing.
Yes.
It's actually a thing until you have comments like that that actually tell you directly, wow, you're really inspiring. I mean, there are some people watching this thinking, yeah, but what do I pivot to? And others may be
Mm,
watching thinking, how do I pivot?
mm,
So yes, you had some things that were already going. And what does someone do if maybe they feel like they sell cakes? That's what they do. They sell cakes. And all of a sudden they can't sell cakes. What would
mhm.
you advise someone like that to do in terms of pivoting and changing direction?
Well, you know what? That's a great question because so that's a great example. I know some people who sell cakes.
Mm,
I just bought a cake from somebody. I posted that on my Facebook, but the same situation. They were in a situation that they could not sell their cakes the way
mm,
that they normally sell them. So
mm,
what did they do? They pivoted. So
mhm,
you can pivot doing what you already do. In their case, they're a baker. They sold
mm,
cakes. I think they had their own storefront store. But what did they do? They came on over to social media and
mm,
started selling their cakes on Instagram
mm,
and Facebook, LinkedIn, and people started seeing them. And so
mm,
by word of mouth from social media platforms, people started ordering their cakes. This
mm,
person delivers, they ship, they let people pick them up. So there are ways that you can still keep doing what you're doing. You just have to
mm,
think another way. I actually have a meeting later on today. Somebody I just met, well, not met, I know him, but met today, and he's thinking about pivoting and
mm,
doing something else and wanted to run some things by me because he thinks I might be able to help him with his new venture.
mm,
I'm like, all right. You know what I mean? So this is making me think a different way. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about doing that in terms of events. So
mm,
absolutely, I'm excited about this meeting because it's like,
mm,
wow, because now somebody else is helping me do something a different way. So
mm,
there's another thing that people they say, well, how do I pivot? Do
mm,
some masterminding. One head is cool, but when you get two and three and four heads together, oh my God, there's no telling the things that you can think of. This guy was talking to me today. I didn't even think about what he was saying. I was like, oh my God,
mm,
why didn't I think of this?
mm,
Do you see
mm.
my point?
Yep.
So you got to mastermind. You've got to
Mm,
brainstorm. I keep telling people, network.
mm,
Please get out on LinkedIn, meet some folks, because I'm telling you, I might have an idea, you may have an idea, but
mm,
together that
mm,
idea could be a multi-million-dollar enterprise. So
mm,
we cannot be in a silo right now. We have
mm.
got to work together. So I'm glad that I pressed my way to come to this because I wasn't going to, but it was an unexpected conference that came up. And I'm like,
Mm,
okay, I'm gonna press my way to go. And I'm so glad I did because
right.
now I may have another business venture that I would have never had I just stayed where I was and stayed in
Yes.
that silo. So
Yes.
I've been pushing myself to get out and
Mm,
be amongst the people. It's rough, it's hard. Everybody's
mm,
masked up and I'm in my room right now, so I'm okay to to not have a mask on.
yeah.
But this is how we have to operate right now. And we've got
Mm,
to not be, there's that word, scared. We cannot live in fear. We have got to
mm,
figure out a way to do things differently so
mm,
we can advance and move forward. If we don't, we're just going to be stuck. And I
mm,
refuse to be stuck.
mm,
That's my new mantra. I refuse to be stuck. I was
Right.
stuck in March. I was stuck in April. But now
Mm.
this is October. We got to get out of the stuckedness,
It
if that's a word.
is now.
We got to get
Stuckedness
out of the
most
stuckedness.
definitely is a word. I'm writing that down. Yes, that's definitely my word now. Get out of the stuckedness. Somebody needs to put
Yes.
that in the comments. That is
Yes.
that is that is it. But it reaches a point where enough is enough. You know, you need to actually do something to
Yep.
get yourself out of it. And sometimes we're kind of waiting for this change, like we're waiting for a bus, you know, that's not going to come. You know, you kind of need to do something, get out there. But I appreciate what you've just shared. I think it's a very a specific and practical a step that people need to take. Is not necessarily thinking I need to be like Teresa because she has all of these different things. Actually, if you just have your one thing, think about
One
how
thing.
to pivot within that. And actually,
Yep.
yes, get other people's heads together, talk about it, discuss it, network,
Absolutely.
share the idea. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a very powerful, practical thing that I don't think is utilized as much as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it's very simple, but quite often people are very precious with their information. They say, I don't want to tell people, I don't want to share, or they don't want people to know that they're struggling. Maybe they're just trying to show that everything is right.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's excellent. We've got a few questions. I said to the audience at the start that I'm going to
Oh,
allow time for
yes.
questions, but I've been monopolizing the conversation.
No, I'm sorry. We supposed to be talking about. We supposed to be having some questions and answers. So come on.
No, this is good. This is good. So we have a question here from Wayne Brown. He's asking, how do you choose people around you for your destiny? I guess what he's asking is, considering your destiny and where you're going, how do you choose people around you? How do you choose the people that are going to, I guess
Mm.
this goes back to the point about the advice, the advisors.
Uh, I've had to, I've had to go through some frogs in terms of even friends. I know people say frogs in relationships, but I've had to go through a lot of frogs in terms of friendships, and I use that term. Uh, we use that term lightly, but I use that term very, very seriously. If I consider you a friend of mine, you're a friend. And you got to consider your friends your um, destiny makers for you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning you can't just be around everybody. Some people that are around you are not for you. And
Mm.
you've got to really have a clear sense of discernment.
Mm.
Crazily enough, there's some folks around me right now that I know that are not 100% for me.
Right.
So, to his point, how do you choose those people? I think you use your discernment and you kind of sort of know who's for you, who's not for you, and you put people in categories. Everybody, you can't tell everybody everything. That's why some people around me who I know aren't for me, they will know really very little about me. And I know
Right.
some people are probably saying to themselves, am I one of those people? Because I don't really know a lot about Teresa. So you gotta, I'm not gonna say any names, but you have to be very cautious and careful of who you consider mentors, advisors, and who you get advice from. Because everybody that gives you advice does not mean you good. And I've learned that over the years. And unfortunately, I've had to learn it the hard way. Um, but I choose very carefully, very wisely. I build a lot of relationships with people. And my mother used to always say, give everybody 100 and let them do their own deducting. And I've been learning that over the years that philosophy is very, 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 very true. People can act very well, but after a little while, it gets tiring, and then the real them comes out.
Mm.
As my husband always says, what you see with Teresa is what you get. Because I can't act. It's exhausting. It's just
Right.
exhausting. So my
Mm.
feelings show on my face. People kind of know where they stand with me. I'm pretty straightforward. If you're my friend, you're my friend. If you're not, I
Mm.
cut you out. I just don't have time for it.
Mm.
So you have to be very, very careful. Um, I guess, and I still haven't really 100% answered this question. How do you pick those people? Um, it depends on who you want in your sphere of influence. So
Mm.
I'm very cautious. Like if I'm on LinkedIn, if there's people that I see that I may want to be connected to, or they're doing something that's similar to what I'm doing and I want to learn more, then I will connect with them. But again, it's all about building relationships. I just had this conversation the other night with a private group that I'm in. And I told them the same thing. You've got to build relationships. Relationships take time. And you can't just, connect with somebody today and assume that they're going to be your, best friend forever and they're going to give you the great advice that you need for your business. It doesn't work like that. You've got to build those relationships, but you got to proceed with caution, if that makes sense.
Yes, it definitely does. Definitely does. I think just that whole selection process and deciding when people are not for you, recognizing fully when people are not for you, it takes still some decision making thereafter.
Oh, yeah.
Because some people, they know that people are not for them, but they still abide them. They still allow them to influence them. And what you said that's really important is just that decision to, actually they're not for you, cut them off and just move on, move away.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to do one and then I'll come back to the people. Because one thing that we mentioned before when you were on last time was that scenario with your ex-boss and the fact that he didn't allow you to leave. He didn't accept your resignation. And it just got me thinking about those types of scenarios where people say things that cause resentment, and that resentment can lead to fear, which then leads to paralysis and people not doing what they ought to do. So I wanted your take. I know that you explained before that you saw in the end that it was because he valued you as a worker, but just the fact that you stayed on a whole year.
Yeah, I know.
Was that fear? Was that because, was that because he imparted so much fear in you? And if so, if you could talk to your former self at that time, at the first time, what would you say?
Oh man, that's a wonderful question. And yeah, absolutely, unequivocally, it was nothing but fear.
Right.
I was afraid, fear of, not making it, a fear of my business failing, which, believe it or not, technically it did. And I hate to say it, but I think I did it to myself.
Right.
Really
okay.
Yeah,
right.
I did it to myself.
I want to pick up on that point, because what you're saying is that there was fear. And actually, when you finally did get to do it, it didn't work. And you're saying you did that to yourself. Can you explain how that you did that to yourself? Because
Absolutely. I can tell you without a doubt, I know how I did it. Because if you would have seen me when I like the months leading up to me deciding that I was going to start my own business, I had no fear. I mean, no fear. I'm like, yes, I'm going to start my business. I'm good. I had such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Such a feeling of, I am going to do this. I'm going to make it. I had no fear. You know why? Because no one had spoken anything negative over my life. Uh-oh, come on, I'm about to preach. I can hear it. I can always feel when I'm about to start preaching. But nobody has spoken anything negative. I was so confident. I just knew it. I was like, Teresa, you got this, girl. I was patting my own self on the back. And then I handed in my letter of resignation. And my former boss, he screamed and he yelled and he said those magic words, "You are going to fail." Come on. He spoke negativity over my life. And I believed him. I believed him.
Wow.
And all the stuff that I believed with Teresa, that I was going to do it and I was going to make it, all went out the window because he spoke that negativity over my life. So somebody watching this might say, well, wait a minute, Teresa, hold on, hold the phone. What happened? You were so confident in yourself because I really valued his opinion.
Mm.
I thought he was one of those people that was for me.
Mm.
All right, come on, y'all catching it? Are y'all catching it?
Mm.
I thought this person wanted me to succeed. I thought this person wanted me to succeed and do well. He wanted me to succeed. He wanted me to do well. He wanted me to succeed and do well with him, not by myself. Y'all see? And so if I could shake the other Teresa, if I could shake me, I would be like, go and do your business, because I don't know what blessings that I missed out on. I don't know what contacts, what contracts, what connections that I missed out on because of fear. And because I stayed a whole nother year. I guess God said, well, you know what? I'm gonna give it to somebody else. I did it to myself.
That's amazing. The thing is, we can get into these situations where you had someone speak words directly to you, and you received those words.
I received them.
That paralyzed you going forward. I feel possibly what's even worse, sometimes I can be guilty of this, is when nobody has said a word, but you actually start to think it yourself, and it becomes so big that it's causing you to fail. Like you've said to yourself, no one said it out loud. You might not even have said it out loud, but in your mind, it's the same result, isn't it? It's fear, and it's something that you just have to break down and overcome. So what was the turning point then? You had failed. Those words are coming. Did you wake up one day and realize, hold on, this isn't me. Hold on, what was the turning point?
The turning point and why I actually did finally, shake myself and jump out there on my own is because I kept hearing God's voice say, it's time for you to come on, Teresa, come on now. You hear his voice and you just push it to the side. Oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it. But it got so loud in my head, like maybe a month before I turned in my second letter of resignation. I was like, okay, I hear you. I got you. And I finally did it. Now this time he said, well, I'm not gonna rescind. I'm not gonna accept it if you rescind it again. Well, I wasn't gonna rescind it again. But I did myself a disservice by not going with my first mind and leaving when I was supposed to have left.
Right.
But you live and you learn. And,
most definitely. Definitely. And you're through that experience, you're not able to serve others, giving the advice you're giving today, writing the books that you've written, etc. So we're glad that you've gone through that for us. So
all my craziness was for you guys. I know it's true.
Seriously, the lessons best learned are from other people.
Absolutely.
If you have to go through yourself, But no, I appreciate you sharing that. I'll take another question. I believe this. I've been told in the comments. This is not Wayne. This is Michelle. I know Wayne and Michelle. This is Wayne's wife. She's asking here: is it true to be successful, you sleep less? And she's quoting Margaret Thatcher here. It's Margaret Thatcher, previous prime minister, once said you only need 4 hours sleep in a day.
Oh.
Are you someone who sleeps a lot? Do you like your sleep?
Well, I used to not, but I just gave my private group members a homework assignment, and I said that we should all try to get at least 7 hours of sleep, because there were some days I was getting by on 3 hours, 2 hours, sometimes no hours. And I'm learning that sleep is our friend. You can't think clearly. You can't make rational, good decisions if you don't have a good amount of sleep. So there's a lot of people I see on Facebook and they're saying hashtag team no sleep. No, those days are over. Get your sleep, okay? Because especially right now, and with all these
side effect,
with all these viruses and all this crap going around, you got to get adequate rest so your body can heal and repair itself. Your body really does repair itself while you're sleeping.
Yes.
And so if you're not sleeping, your body's like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep letting this person get sick. So I'm learning, get 7 hours if you can. If you can't get 7, at least 5, but 3-4 hours of sleep. Those days are over. We got to get 7.
There we go. There we go. So Maggie Thatcher was wrong. It's all about the sleep. And I believe that, you know, because I'm a person, my wife will testify, I don't function well when I have not had my sleep.
You got to get your rest.
I don't function well. It's all about getting that rest so that you can think clearly and focus and just be at your optimum. So so that's brilliant.
Absolutely.
So we got a comment here that says, glad you got the courage to send your second letter of resignation. Yes.
Thank you. It was courage. That's a wonderful word. It takes a lot of courage for somebody to pretty much yell and scream at you the first time, and then you go and do it again. So yes, thank you so much. But it was a lot of courage to be able to do that, and I think that's what it takes as an entrepreneur. You got to be courageous. You know, I say that in some of our affirmations that we say for entrepreneurs. I am courageous, because even if you don't feel it, I had to talk to myself that day. I went to give him that letter because I'm like, okay, Teresa, if he starts yelling and screaming and acting a fool again, are you going to cower and are you going to still stand fast? And I had made it up in my mind that I was going to be courageous, and I was going to stand in my power, and I was going to give that letter no matter what happened, and I was leaving. And I did. I gave my 2 weeks. I worked the full 2 weeks, and they didn't give me a party. Like I said, they didn't give me a going away anything. I had been there for years. Everybody was mad. How you mad because somebody trying to better themselves? Okay. They were mad at me for leaving. I've never seen such a thing. Usually people are like, yes, such and such is leaving. Yes. No, these people were mad at me because I decided that I wanted to step out and do what God called me to do. I don't get it, but
I think it's testament to how well you actually worked on that job. I think that, like you said, if you weren't a good worker, they would have been cheering and saying, hey, glad she's gone. But actually, the only way you'd be upset with someone leaving is because maybe they relied on you. Maybe they depended on you to help out with certain things, you know?
You're right.
So
I should be flattered, but I still wanted a party.
Of course. Where's my cake? Where are the balloons?
Right. Can I get a party?
Where's my watch? Where's my watch? Yeah.
I get it. But you're right. I didn't think about it like that. So maybe I should be feeling differently on that. But okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the time, of course, you're going to be upset because the fact is you can compare it to other people that leave and you just think this is ridiculous. But yeah, I guess in hindsight, it is testament to how well you worked. It must be. I mean, even the fact that you said that your boss was shouted because he needed you. He knew you were a good worker. So, you know, it's very interesting. Okay, I'm going to take one more from the audience. We totally run out of time. Again, this time has flown by.
Sorry.
Okay. This is Michelle again. I believe going to Michelle. She's asking about books. She says, you have such drive, Teresa. What books have you read? If you had a must-go-to one, which would you recommend?
Oh, gosh. I've read so many books. Oh, goodness gracious. I don't even know. I've had so many books that I've read. Actually, one that I brought with me.
Okay.
You know what? This is not staged because I had no idea nobody was going to ask me that question.
Perfect. Look, this question is coming live from the audience. Look at that.
And I'm not paid to advertise. I shout people out all the time. Nobody pays me to do it. I just do it because I do. But this little book, can you guys see it? By Seth Godin, The Dip.
Move out of the way.
Oh, there it is again. And I actually take this book wherever I go. Believe it or not, the book is called The Dip, a little book that teaches you when to quit and when to stick.
There we
How
go.
fitting.
There we go. There we go.
But this little book is awesome because sometimes we we stick and stay on things too long.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you got to know, okay, like maybe it's time to pivot. Here we go. Maybe it's time to step out on faith and pivot. And I've been reading this book over and over. It's a little book. It's only a few pages. But I believe sometimes when you read and reread and reread a book, it's only like 80 pages. It's an easy read. But in this time period that we're in, I just have found that this book is one that I reference and go back to over and over. Like, am I doing the right thing? Should I change? Should I be moving? And every time I come back to that. You got to continue to keep pivoting. So this is a good book. The Dip by Seth Godin. That's one of my good ones that I've read. See, I had one by the bed. I didn't even realize.
I love the fact that it was just within arm's reach. You didn't even have to stand up.
I was like, wait a minute, I had one. I've read so many though, but that's one. And this season will be a good book for a lot of people to read.
Right. Well, there's a lot of gratitude saying thank you. So powerful. The thing is, I would love to continue on the conversation, but I want to respect your time and everybody who's watching. I appreciate all the comments and everything that you've shared tonight has been absolutely amazing and fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you being here. Another round of applause.
You win. Perfect.
Fantastic.
I love your sound effects. Those are amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I love them too. I'm trying to keep calm with them though, so that I can hear what my guests have to say. But usually, I have a fine balance. I'm getting there. Fine balance.
Okay, but now before I go, can I put in a shameless plug?
Yes, of course, 100%. I'm getting out of the way. You go ahead.
So, and I know I've referenced this a couple times today, but this little book that I've written, can y'all see it? Not Built to Break, Becoming Resilient Through Life Challenges. I've had some life challenges, and I was led to write this book back in 2009. I re-released it in 2012. And it truly has been a book. Believe it or not, I read my own book. I take my book everywhere I go. And I actually refer to it because I go through some situations that I have to refer back to my own book and just say, okay, what did I say in this chapter? But definitely, if you haven't had a chance to read this book, please pick it up. It's on Amazon, or you can go to notbuilttobreak.com. And I appreciate this opportunity of being on with my dear friend. Now I'm going to call you a friend, OC.
Yes. Because we're going to keep in touch and we'll see what happens in the future when all this lockdown thing finishes, etc. Get myself over to the States. It'll be good to catch up over there. Who knows what would happen? But I've never been to the States before.
What?
Never been.
No, I can't believe that. No, I need you to come over. Well, I don't know if you can right now. Is anybody flying?
No, not yet, but I've actually never been. So.
Oh, please come. Absolutely, you must come. Absolutely.
Yes. No, I'm going to. I'm definitely going to. But no, listen, thank you so much. And I know that I can't even put up all these comments. People are saying, well done. Thank you. So
okay, we got to do a part 3. It's going to be a part 3.
This is it. Yes.
We got to do another one. It's almost like we have so much more to talk about, but we just don't have enough time. So we got to do part 3.
Because you got so much wisdom, so many gems that people enjoy.
You have some. You just had me over here like, I'm going to have to watch the replay so I can write that down. So yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely do a part 3 when you get a chance. So we'll set it up.
Yes, definitely. I'll be in touch. Most definitely. But Teresa, hang on there. Thank you so much again for being on the show. I'm just going to close everything out. And people saying they're going to buy your book. Definitely.
Thank you guys.
Brilliant. Thank you so much again, Teresa. Thank you. Okay, guys, that has been today's show, Tuesday Night Live. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure that you share it with other people. Do you know what? I really do genuinely, and this is genuine, I want people to fulfill their potential. Anybody who's followed EJWAY Education, and they know that I've had events called Grow Your Potential, I've had live events, and I am always promoting people realizing what their potential is, and then also applying what skills are needed to be able to fulfill that potential. So guys, share this with as many people as possible, and let's get out there. Let's be great. Let's do every single thing that is the potential within us so we can be great on this earth. Okay, everybody, have yourselves a fantastic week. Don't forget to tune in next week. I have got live with me in the studio Mr. Emmanuel Wardrone. He is an award-winning pianist, producer, arranger, and composer. He's played for the Queen. He's played for the Pope. He's played for the Kingdom Choir. He's played at the Royal Wedding. He's just a serious pianist. And we're going to be talking to him about going from practice to professional. So you can have a skill, maybe you're creative, you've got a skill where you do it at home, but you need to learn how to go from practice to becoming professional. We'll be talking to Emmanuel next week and finding all about how he made that step, because he's such a gifted man. But guys, have yourselves a wonderful week. Comments are still coming through. I'm going to close out the show. Take care, or good night. God bless. Have yourselves a great week, and I will see you next time here on Tuesday Night Live. Take care.